Basically, these frameworks, processes, models, guidelines are the time-tested solutions to the past problems which people were encountered during software development. And some people documented it for others to follow to avoid those problems in future. So on high level, the SDLC model look like this. It is composed of 7 stages or phases. At some places, you might see people showing you 6 stages, and that is fine. The first phase which I have shown here, that phase they would have merged with the second phase. Now let us see what happens at each phase at high level. The first phase of SDLC is analysis and planning. In this phase, customer will analyze their team's workings, company's processes, and come up with the projects which will ease their work. At this phase, customer will have project plan, requirement, and their budget. The second phase is requirement phase, where customer will hand over these requirements or project plan to the project team who will going to work on that project. The third phase is design and prototyping. In this phase, the project team will go through the requirement and come up with the small designs and prototypes which shows customer how their final product will looks like. The fourth phase is software development. Post customer approval on design and prototype phase, project team will start coding those requirements. The fifth phase is testing. In this phase, the coded functionalities will be tested thoroughly by the testing team against the defined requirements. The sixth phase is deployment. Once testing is completed, application will be deployed to server. Means it is released for customers to use. The seventh phase is maintenance and updates. Post releasing project to customer or public, they will keep on discovering functionalities or bugs in the existing functionalities. These new use cases or requirements and bugs will be provided to project team for fixing. Bugs will be fixed and the updates will be released in the application. However, for the new requirement, entire SDLC cycle will be repeated again. This is just a high level view of SDLC, but in the upcoming session, we'll see what exactly happens at deep level at each step. Building anything is a big process, and if you don't plan it well, you will going to fail at it. There's a good quote on planning. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, by Benjamin Franklin. And SDLC will gives you that systematic plan, that defined concrete steps, that already built road to follow, which most of the people were followed and following in the industry and getting the expected results. So let us see now what are the benefits of following SDLC. It makes it clear what is the problem you are going to solve or your goal is. It is very easy to derail or divert yourself when you are working in a big project. With SDLC, you can clearly see the goals and the problems. Each team will have a clarity on what role they will going to perform. Second, common vocabulary for each step. When there are many people involved in the project, it is easy to get confused in the different language used to describe the same thing. To avoid this, SDLC frame out common vocabulary to be followed by everybody from start to end. Third, provide mechanism for tracking and increase the project progress to all stakeholders. As you are following the SDLC defined plan or road, it is very much easy to track where you are and how much yet to cover. And at any point of time, stakeholders can track what is the current status of their project. This will give them visibility about what is happening with their project. Fourth, improved product quality. At each stage of SDLC, the output generated at each stage will go through the quality controls defined at that stage. This will help to build a high quality product at the end. Fifth, increase the deployment speed. Since you are now following the SDLC defined plan, you can increase your deployment speed. Sixth, decrease the project risk. What can go wrong usually in software development is already taken care of in SDLC. So you will see the decrease in the project risk. Seventh, decrease project management overhead. As the clarity is present since the beginning and each team member knows what is his role in this project, no special project management efforts are required here. 8th, reduce unnecessary costs during development. Cost of software development is directly proportional to the hours spent. As SDLC giving you the optimized plan to complete the project team can reduce unnecessary costs during development. All these benefits you will realize by using the SDLC. So nowadays every project is following the SDLC approach. You might see they are following their own way, but at the core there is a SDLC. Consider the company name Daily Needs, which is an online startup company famous for selling the daily needs items. They are expanding their company to other cities in India. So they are hiring the people in bulk. Now, the current process of their hiring is they will recruit the people. During the onboarding process, they will inform internal IT team, finance team, project team, security team via email to proceed with the next formalities. Like for IT team for procuring the laptop, finance team for processing the salaries, project team for deploying candidate to the project, for security team for creation of ID card and providing the access to company office premises. Till today, they are doing this process via emails and they found that it is taking more than longer time for them to complete it. They are planning to automate this process by creation of application called employee portal. In the upcoming session, we will refer this example and we'll see how the SDLC process can be applied in this case. Stay tuned. Once customer or stakeholders requested for the project, the first step of SDLC will be initiated. That is analysis and planning. In this phase, below things will be analyzed. Alignment of the project. Understanding whether the project aligns with your company's larger vision and goals. Resource availability and allocations. Is the company has all the necessary tools, teams or skilled people who can work on this project. Scheduling. Assessing your current bandwidth to understand whether you will be able to deliver the project in the prescribed time frame. Cost estimation. Evaluating the total cost till completion of the project. In this phase, project team and all the impacted teams, departments like security and operation will be consulted as well. I will re-emphasize all the impacted people needs to be consulted in this phase. And it is crucial because the stronger you start, the execution will be much effortless during the later stages. After all this analysis and exercise, a high level document is made which is called SOW, that is scope of work or statement of work. SOW is a plan that details out what is being built and what you will see at the end of completion of the project. It defines the project specific activities, deliverables and timelines for the vendor providing services to the client. This session is about giving you overview of how the sample schedule will be designed ideally in the SDLC process. So let us start. Here I have prepared the sample schedule for our daily needs employee portal project. I have listed all the high level SDLC steps on the left hand side and on the right hand side I have given the timelines for each step. One thing to note here is I have taken the high level timelines at month level, but feel free to change it to weeks or days level. That is perfectly fine. So you can see for our project, we will have an analysis and planning supposed to get completed in the November month. From the December month, we will start the requirement gathering where we'll gather all the requirement and it should get completed by January month. Design and prototype phase will start from February and end in March. After that, we have a long software deployment phase. Ideally, this will be a long phase in any project. This should start in April month and supposed to get completed in the month of July. Followed by that, we have a QA and UAT testing. Post that, we have a deployment window shown with the star symbol where we will release our software for public or for the intended audience. Deployment will be a single day event. Since ours is a high level schedule, I have given October month. Somewhere it will happen. Followed by that, there is a maintenance and update phase will start. Ideally post deployment, there will be a 1 week or 2 weeks period, which is called as a hypercare period, where the application will be closely monitored for any issues. If any issues reported in this hypercare period, then those needs to be fixed immediately and deployed. That deployment is called as a hotfix deployment. Once the hypercare period is over, then our ideal maintenance and update phase will start. This is a general high level overview of sample software project schedule and timelines. Now we are in requirements gathering phase. In requirement phase, all the requirements for the projects are gathered and documented. Let us try to answer some basic questions here. How the requirements are gathered? Requirements are gathered from the business user by scheduling the calls, meetings, workshop with them, or in some companies there will be defined templates. Those will be shared with business team to fill and they will share it back. Now let us answer next question. Who will be the part of meetings or workshop? Business users from business side, from project team side, business analyst, project manager, technical architect, lead developer, etc. These meetings are kind of brainstorming sessions which involve identifying the use case by answering the common questions for each use case, like first, how the existing system is working means understanding the existing ways of operation. Second, who is going to use this project means finding the actors in the application. Third, what is the input and output is needed. Fourth, do you need to integrate it with any third party APIs or tools? Fifth, how to handle the security and privacy in the application. Sixth, what are the limitations we have? Once this meeting or workshop is over, you got the requirement, then what next? Some project teams I have seen, they will directly start coding work here itself. That is not a good practice. You can analyze and make the things ready, but you should not start concrete work here. Once we have answers for all the questions for each use case, then business analysts will prepare the detailed software requirement specification document. That is also called as SRS document. If you are following the agile model, then user stories will be created by business analysts. We will see it in detail in next sessions. This SRS document will have all the functional and non-functional requirements defined. Let us see now what is functional and non-functional requirements are. Functional requirement specifies or describes what the software application or product should do. They are basically the requirements stated and demanded by user, which one can see directly in the final product, unlike the non-functional requirements. For example, for our daily needs company's internal employee portal project, functional requirements can be: first, login form for new joinee employee to log into application. Second, web page with form to fill the new joinee details, etc. Now let us see what non-functional requirements are. Non-functional requirements are basically the quality constraint that the system must satisfy according to the project contract. In short, it describes how the software application product needs to behave with respect to performance, response time, accessibility, scalability, availability, maintainability, and extensibility. Coming back to our daily needs internal employee portal, it can be every page of the application should load within 3 seconds. Application should be accessible in all browser in web and mobile. It should be available 99% of the time. These can be a non-functional requirement for our project. Once we got clarity on all the requirements, then we can start with technical requirements, where we will define the technical stack, database, which we can use to build this project. This will be defined by the technical architect. SRS document will hold all this information. It acts as a single source of truth during entire development. Your project success is majorly depends on the quality of your requirement document. If it is not clear, then you need to spend unnecessary time during your next SDLC phases to get clarity from the business users. At the end of this phase, this SRS document will be reviewed and signed off from the business users, just for the confirmation that we have documented all the requirements which you have told us. Fully signed SRS document is the final output of this phase. As I have said, every SDLC phase will have some kind of output. For first phase of analysis and planning, it has a SOW document as an output document. In this requirement phase, we have a SRS document as an output. In the upcoming session, we will go through a sample SRS document so that you will have a better understanding of what it contains. In this section, we are going to see the sample SRS document, that is software requirement specification document for our daily needs employee portal project. Please note that it is not the final document, it is just a template cum sample SRS document which I have prepared with a minimal content for our daily needs employee portal project to just give you basic idea of how the sample SRS document looks like and what it contains. So without wasting any time, let us dive into it. So this is the first page of SRS document. Here you will see the big title followed by the date on which it is created and its version. And finally prepared by. This will be the company name who is going to work on this project. Now let us scroll below to next page. Here you will see the change history section. Whenever any change is made into this document, it is mandatory to log that change description in this section. So you can expect multiple versions of this document present. Below that, you will see the document approval section. As I have mentioned in before section that this SRS document needs to be signed off from the business team before starting the next phase of SDLC. Signed SRS document is the output of the requirement phase. Hence, each version of this document needs to be signed off from the business user. Whoever signed off, that person detail needs to be mentioned in this section. Now let us scroll again. Here our actual SRS document starts with the summary in the table of contents section. Here you will see the first point, which is introduction, which will talks about the purpose of this document, project scope and intended audience. Second point is system description, which will talks about how the current system is working and how the proposed system should work. Third point is functional requirement, which will talks about the detailed system feature and use cases involved in the proposed system. Fourth point is external interface requirement. This is supposed to talk about the external system or tools integration with our system. Fifth point is about technical and non-functional requirement. This will talk in brief about all the technical and non-functional requirement of the project. Sixth point is about open issues, which will highlight any open issues present in the system. Now let us scroll below and go through each point section in detail. Before starting the overview, let me clarify you that the yellow highlighted text here is providing the more description about what that section should contain. I have kept it for your reference. In actual document, it will not be there. Now let us start. In introduction section, you are seeing the purpose subsection. This should specify the purpose of this document in detail. Then document conventions. This should specify all the abbreviations or any special conventions used during preparing this document, so that the next reader of this document should understand the document clearly. One thing above all this is, the goal of preparing any SRS document is to draft each and every requirement in easy to understand format. This SRS document will serve as a single source of truth for the project, and it is referred during the later stages of SDLC in case any clarifications and doubt. So this is not the fixed template of SRS document. You can add many sections into it so that you can explain the requirement in the better way. Now let us come back to our overview. In the document convention section, you can see I have specified some abbreviations like DB for database, etc. Next, you will see the project scope. It should define the purpose of the project, goals, vision and its boundaries. Then you can see the intended audience, who all going to use this project or impacted by this project should be specified in this section. Then you can see the references section. In case you have used some external documents to bring better clarity into your SRS document, then you should provide those external pages links here. So you can see all the minute things are covered in SRS document, so that the next person should interpret it in the way it is expected and not otherwise. Now let us scroll below and move to next section. Second section is about system description. Inside that, you will see the section for current system. This should explain in detail how the current system is working. Then proposed system section, which will explain how the proposed system should work. Here I have tried explaining for our example of employee portal. Below this, you will see the proposed system high level diagram. Not only here, anywhere you can use process diagram, flowchart diagram, block diagram, activity diagram, sequence diagram to explain in detail the concepts and requirements. Now let us scroll to the third section, which is functional requirement. First, this should talk in brief about the high level system features, followed by the use cases details. Now let us scroll to the use case section. In the use case section, all the use cases of the system are specified in details along with necessary use case diagrams, activity diagrams, sequence diagram and entity relationship diagram. Let us see the sample use case details here. There should be a unique ID for each use case to refer. It is as per the company's naming conventions. Some company use CR followed by a number. CR means change request, for example CR01. Then you can see the description. Here I have given new joinee detail entry form. Basically it should be a detailed description of the use case. Then you will see actors. Who are the actors in this use case? Then preconditions. Any preconditions you want to be satisfied before invoking this use case. Then basic steps, which will explain step-by-step flow of the use case. Then exception case, if any. In case there are some exceptions or rare case scenario, then how to handle those are mentioned here. For example, if the new joinee employee doesn't have the previous employer leaving certificate, then what should happen is mentioned here. Then basic rules and validations. This should capture all the basic rules which needs to be verified in this use case. For example, new joinee will enter his financial details, which includes the bank account number. Then there should be a business validation to verify the bank account number for its correctness. Then you are seeing post conditions. Here you should list down the conditions which you want to execute post this use case flow. Now if you scroll below, you will see I have given use case diagram describing users' possible interactions with the system. Then activity diagram describing control flow from start point to the finish point, showing the various decision paths that exist while the activity is being executed. Then sequence diagram describing the sequence of messages exchanged between the objects needed to carry out the functionality or the scenario. And finally, entity relationship diagram describing a graphical representation that depicts the relationship among people, object, places, concept or events of the system. Let us scroll more. Then next subsection is of data dictionary. In our use cases, we have a different entities present. For example, new joinee employee is one of the entity. So for all the entities, their attributes will be listed here. Fourth section is about external interface requirement, which should explain in detail about the integration with the third-party system and tools. For example, we have a business validation of validating the bank account number. Then we can use the third-party bank API to verify. It is called as an integration. All such details needs to be mentioned in this section. Then we will have a technical and non-functional requirement here. I have clubbed it, but you can mention it separately as well. No problems with that. In technical requirement, I have given the software and technology used. Followed by that, some non-functional requirement with respect to performance. For example, application should work with 100 concurrent users at a time. Every page should load in 3 seconds, like this. Then scalability requirement, then security requirement, maintainability and usability requirement. Then multilingual requirement in case you want your application to support different language. Then most important, that is auditing and logging requirement. How the actions done by users you want to track, how you want to maintain the error logs, if any error occurred in the application, that will be described here. And last is availability requirements, if any. The last section here is of open issues, which are identified and needs more time to fix. Team was working on it and planning to fix in the next release. Such issue will be listed here. And the ideal target should be, there should not be any open issues present in this section. Our sample SRS document ends here. But again I am re-emphasizing, SRS document is not of a fixed template or size. You can add as many details section as you want, but the final goal is that SRS document should contain all requirements in detail and in easy to understand format.